type of sports background.
We pulled the abacus out and came out with 62 years.
62 years to be exact. However, I believe it's the first time you and I have ever worked together, so I'm glad we're here.
That's true. The last time we were together was on a football field.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. That was a lot of dark hairs ago, for me anyway. I don't think you had gray in the beard then, but we had a lot of fun doing it. We were playing in a football game at the Pontiac Silverdome when they were introducing the new indoor arena. Or no, it was at the Palace. At the Palace of Auburn Hills, the new indoor football team.
Yeah, I thought it was something smaller.
And we had a media football gathering. You were the quarterback on one team. I was the quarterback on the other, and we had a blast.
Yes, you were the dual threat guy.
There was some testosterone building there, wasn't there?
It was.
Yeah.
So people got injured. And they weren't even touched because we were getting older. So
that's right. There's a pulled hammy there. There's a twisted knee and a broken ankle there about as well. You've got your Central Michigan stuff out today.
I am going to a CMU event tonight.
Good for you.
Tree lighting ceremony downtown.
Represent the chips.
That's right. Fire up.
How many people have we come in contact with our Central brethren over the years in broadcasting? Quite a few. Great broadcasting school.
I would say at least 20, 30.
At least, especially in the Detroit metro market. Before we get rolling here, I want to thank Darren and Sean Dabish for having us out here at the Dispo here in Romeo. It's a beautiful facility. It's clean.
Man, this almost looks like a mall.
I know, and it's warm, too. And they've been very warm in their welcoming of us, so we appreciate it very much. It's always good to be here. I mentioned how much you and I have in terms of, credibility, if you will, because of the years we've spent. Clarissa Thompson is one of the more credible football hosts, I think, in the NFL and on TV right now. But she's in some hot water because when she was a sideline reporter, she recently admitted on a podcast that she has made things up because coaches didn't come out in time, or she couldn't get to those coaches. Now, this happens in sports. I'm not saying the making up part, but it happens in sports where if you're on the sideline, you're waiting for the coach to come out of the locker room, and sometimes the timing is not always there. They want you to fill with a report. It doesn't mean you make stuff up and lie about it, and she's getting a lot of heat for it.
And she should, because our business has been under attack for years, and people think we make stuff up anyway. I, as a journalist, never made up anything because I worked under this assumption. The first time I made up something, they're going to find out and fire me. I needed the money and I needed the job. And, we don't, for the most part. I mean, there's a few people that plagiarized and made up stuff, but for the most part, when we get wrong information out there, it's because somebody told us that. And we believed them, and so we reported what we were told. But, as far as the sideline reporting, I mean, you lose all credibility. And I have the solution, though.
Well, you always do. But let me, just in case people don't know about it, let me read exactly what happened. She said, no coach is going to get mad if I say, hey, we need to stop hurting ourselves. That's very generic. We need to be better on third down. Again, very generic. Sure. You can look at that from statistics. You and I have done that before at Ford Field. We need to stop turning the ball over and do a better job of getting off the field. Like, they're not going to correct me on that. I'm like, it's fine. I'll just make up the report. Now, all kinds of blowback from that, from really qualified and long-standing sideline reporters. Lisa Salters, I think, does a hell of a job. And she tweeted out, shocked, disappointed, disgusted. What we heard today called all sideline reporters into question. My job is an honor. It's a privilege and a craft where I work hard. Trust and credibility means everything. Molly McGrath had some feedback. Tracy Wolfson, I think, is among the best. She says, this is absolutely not okay, not the norm, and upsetting on so many levels. And she continued, I don't have to read the entire tweet. How much does it bother you? And why should it bother anybody out there watching Clarissa Thompson?
It should bother you because in the business, when you write or say something, you want people to believe you. If you lose trust with your listener or reader, who the hell are you? Mm-hmm. You're a nobody.
Yeah.
So,
but you and I have seen, whether it be local or national people, whether it be TV, radio, or print, all kinds of people have made mistakes. This is almost a boastful mistake on her part.
it's not even a mistake. It goes beyond making a mistake. A mistake is, oops, I did this. Hers is like, yeah, I can't get information, so I'm just going to make stuff up. That goes beyond a mistake.
Yeah. I would say this, and I've been in this situation as a sideline reporter. If they're looking for something from you, and a producer jumps in your ear and says, I need the sideline report, tell me what Robert Saleh said, okay? And all you do is, you'll refer to your pre-production meeting with the head coach. So you sit down with whatever coach. We'll use Dan Campbell because he's local in this example. Dan, what's really important for you guys this week against the Bears? I'll tell you what we got to do. We've got to contain Justin Fields in the pocket, and we've got to do a really good job of first down, not get behind the chains. If Detroit in the first half doesn't contain Fields and is constantly looking at second and third down and long, you can use that as your jumping off point to use as part of your report. You don't quote him if you don't talk to him at the half.
Or, how about this? Know the game. You're watching the game, and if you have to talk to a coach, a lot of times you don't have to have him tell you what's going on. You know what's going on. When we go to press conferences, a lot of times I already know what a player is going to say and what a coach is going to say.
Yeah.
But if you know the game, it's like, okay, it's been too many third and longs. You can go on and say, hey, Terry Foster here. Here's what the Lions need to do in the second half.
Right.
There's too many third and longs. Justin Fields has just rushed for 120 yards on him in the first half. Mm-hmm. They got to clean that up. You don't need to say, well, the coach told me this, Bob, if you don't get them.
Don't attribute it to something that if you haven't talked to that coach, is what you're saying. Right. And look, the staffs are so big. And I know that teams only want head coaches to talk to reporters. I get that. But you need to get it possibly from a PR person if you're not getting it from the coach. You need to have a relationship with these PR people. You say, listen, if I can't get Coach Campbell at halftime, I need you to give me something he said to the team, and I can summarize it. Those are possibilities as well. Dan Campbell said to his team at halftime, blah, 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 blah. Those are the ways you protect it. What she's doing, and almost boastfully so, because she's not a sideline reporter any longer, she's more of a host than anything else. What she's doing right now is basically telling everybody, I'm making stuff up. You believed it. Shame on you. It's a stupid thing to do.
And I got promoted.
Yeah, right.
So that's the other thing. But, once again, in our business, we are under attack every day. And I think, you need to be as accurate, and you just can. The worst thing that you used to be able to do back in the day was plagiarize. Now today is to make stuff up. That's the absolute worst thing you can do.
But you and I were talking about this before the program began, and you said something pretty interesting, because there is so much out there in sports and news with social media and things of that nature that we've lost credibility by association with some of the other things that take place.
Yes, because people don't know the difference between legitimate news sources and just stuff that's just made up. Mm-hmm. I mean, if some guy on, I'm in a pissedoffmood.com writes something and gets it out there.
It's an interesting website.
Hey, it can be just as powerful as the news free press of the New York Times.
Yeah, which is a shame.
Right, it is a shame, but that's the society we live into. So, and then people say, well, in the media, I heard this. I said, yeah, but that was on I'm a fool.com, and I don't know what I'm talking about. So you're going to believe that.
All right. Those are two interesting websites. Some interesting news from the world of baseball, and that is we saw two unanimous MVPs voted on yesterday. Shohei Ohtani, Ronald Acuna Jr. These are two of the more gifted players in the sport. Ohtani obviously does it with the bat and pitching-wise, and I think and people all make an awful lot about it. I've interviewed him before. I've stood next to him. He is a big man. I think what isn't mentioned enough about Shohei Ohtani is his speed. For his size, for him to be that fast, I think is really impressive. Who would you take if you were to start a team today, Ronald Acuna Jr. or Shohei Ohtani? And why?
I think Ohtani, just because, who else does both? I'm going to assume that his arm is going to be okay, that he's going to be able to pitch again.
Right. Not next year, but after that.
Yeah,
I got you.
I'm a long-term looking guy.
Yeah, I got you.
We could skip 1 year.
Okay.
But both of them, when you look at their OPB, it's pretty similar. Ohtani hit a few more home runs. Acuna knocked in more runs. So you got two dynamic players. I just think that Ohtani, if he were from America, if he spoke English, he would be the face of baseball.
He speaks better English than he leads on. I would tell you that. But I think he's the face of baseball anyway. Look, when people say Major League Baseball, what's the first name that comes to mind? It's Shohei Ohtani. When you go into a market and people want to see a certain player, it's Shohei Ohtani. When you look at the all-star ballots, it's Shohei Ohtani. When you talk to other players, and I think this has more validity to it than anything else, when you talk to other players and you say, who's the guy you want to watch, more oftentimes than not, it's Shohei Ohtani. So I think he's the face of baseball. I love Ronald Acuna Jr. Why do I love him so much? I think he hurts you in so many different ways. Granted, he's not a pitcher. Ohtani's not going to pitch next year. I don't know how long he'll pitch. Some people believe he's going to be a full-time, just everyday player and get away from the pitching aspect. I don't know that just yet, but we'll have to see how that plays out. If you're looking at a specific player, what I love about Ronald Acuna Jr., the 70 bags are really impressive. He's got a cannon for an arm. He can hit with power. He can hit for average. I think he is as complete a player as there is. I was in Miami earlier this year at the Miguel Cabrera press conference because everybody wanted in Miami to talk to Cabrera. And the question was asked, if someone's going to eclipse your numbers in the game today, who would it be? He took about half a second to answer and said, Ronald Acuna. That's how good this kid is if he can stay healthy. I think the knock against him is that the Braves won the World Championship without him. And that was something that I didn't think anybody thought would happen.
Right. But with Shohei, let's say the day comes where he can't pitch anymore.
Yeah.
He might become a better fielder. He might become an even better hitter because you don't have to worry about the pitching and you can focus on that one thing. So I'm willing to gamble on the even better side of him that we're going to see just from the plate.
I get it. And you know what? To your point, what he might do is he might be stealing more bags too. You know, he had 20 stolen bases this past year, I believe, 20 stolen bags. He probably could have a lot more than that. Where does he play? That's the question, because he's an outfielder, and if his arm is ailing, he's not going to be playing out there. I don't believe a designated hitter, this might be short-sighted, I'd be happy to listen to you and prove me wrong. I don't think a designated hitter is the MVP. I think you got to play in the field as well.
Guess what?
What?
I will agree with you.
Oh, wow.
So we're not going to have that battle.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you.
You need to be out in the field. You need to make some defensive plays because the ball does come to you sometimes, and you got to make the play. I mean, like Miguel Cabrera, I think you couldn't put him in the MVP conversation until he locked down first base. He became a good.
He was a good first baseman.
First baseman.
Yeah, I think
not
he was
great, but he was good, and he was never going to get all the flowers he deserved because he's viewed as just this slugger, and he kind of hammed and egg third base and stuff. When he got to first base, I'm like,
hey, man.
All right.
Listen, he was a pretty good third baseman, too. I think what happened is we gravitate toward offense. We'll get more into that as we continue from Dispo here in Romeo on Woodward Sports. He's Terry Foster. I'm Matt Shepard. Glad you're with us on a Friday afternoon.
And let me tell you more about Dispo in Royal Oak and in Romeo. You can join Braylon Edwards at the Dispo Dispensary in Hazel Park on Tuesday, November 21st for their Thanksgiving turkey giveaway. Starting at noon, Dispo will be giving away Thanksgiving turkeys over the course of the day. All you have to do is purchase any product from Dispo Hazel Park on Tuesday afternoon, and you get a free bird. So you'll receive your turkey. Available while supplies last. Dispo Hazel Park is located at 634 West 9 Mile Road, Hazel Park, Michigan. Pull up, re-up, and grab your bird for Thanksgiving dinner.
Spencer.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports. Woodward and Main Street. The Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions Show. Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com.
Since the dawn of moving people, Chevrolet has led the way. The world of transportation is changing. At Feldman Chevrolet, we are leading the charge forward. With every electric vehicle, every mile traveled, one Feldman at a time. The company that puts more Chevys on Michigan roads is now the #1 name for Chevy electric vehicles.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, 2 of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
Join Woodward Sports and Long Drink live this Sunday for the official Lions VIP tailgate party. It's at Easter Market in Shed number 5, and it's going to be a bash starting at 9:30 a.m. until game time. The official Lions tailgate is back and better than ever. How would you like to pregame it with Woodward Sports and be treated like a VIP? Food, beverages, and entertainment all included. Get your tickets online today at bullseyeeventgroup.com or win some from Woodward Sports. Just subscribe to our YouTube, follow us on Instagram, and direct message Lions VIP. Now back to Shep and Terry.
Spencer Raxter, thanks very much. Our thanks to Jeremy Bryant. Our thanks to Mike Gentry as well for being out here. Woodward Sports, we are at Dispo here in Romeo with Terry Foster. I'm Matt Shepard. Again, high five to Darren and Sean Davish. We love coming out here. It's pretty cool stuff. We'll get to their favorite sport a little bit later on. It's Detroit Lions. It's about football. We will get to that, especially the Jim Harbaugh thoughts. But before we do that, Joe Burrow was injured last night in a Baltimore win over Cincy. Devastating news for the Bengals. I'm not saying they would have come back because it was a wrist injury. You watched it. I watched it. It was kind of a wild situation for the Bengals, who now dropped to 500. Hard to believe this is a team that was in the Super Bowl just a couple of years ago. And now they're on the outside looking in. I doubt they're getting in. I doubt Cleveland is either. But you're looking at Baltimore. You're looking at Pittsburgh. Mike Tomlin, one of the best coaches of all time, doesn't get enough credit. With Joe Burrow out, and look, I thought their backup came in, did a really nice job, quite honestly. You're looking at some of the best quarterbacks in the world that are injured right now. But I've said this for decades. I think you've said it too. There aren't that many. There's 32 teams in the NFL. There ain't 32 great quarterbacks in the world. I love the discussion. I was watching the game last night with my son, and I said to him, who's the best backup in the NFL? First of all, it's hard to name all the backups. Second of all, I said, what does that tell you right there? There's not that many guys who can play this position. There's guys who can play it at the collegiate level, and people are gaga over certain players, right? You get to the NFL, and I don't want to go into an old bit about give me the top 10. There's not that many really good quarterbacks. There's hardly any great ones, but there's not that many really good quarterbacks. You go maybe 10 deep.
See, I was going to go 5 or 6 deep.
Okay, yeah, right.
So, yeah, there's not much.
Okay, let me ask you this. Is Josh Allen in that 5 or 6?
He was. I would definitely put him in there, but now, today, no. I would not put him in there.
I'd still put him in there, but I think you're right about that. I mean, there's just very few. Going into, you and I were texting each other last night. Going into the game last night, Lamar Jackson, who's incredibly athletic, has his team at 8-3. He had the same number of touchdown passes as Mac Jones. Think about that for a minute. Mac Jones is going to get benched. Now, Mac Jones can't run like Lamar Jackson. He can't throw the deep ball like Lamar Jackson. My point is, sometimes we get so wrapped up in offensive numbers and certain numbers. And let's see how he does moving forward because he's without Mark Andrews, who's an absolute beast as a tight end. There's just not that many good quarterbacks. Maybe we should appreciate what Jared Goff is bringing to the Lions lately.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. I mean, I just think Jared Goff is a grinder. This is my views on Jared Goff that he doesn't get credit for. He's a grinder. He's this blue-collar guy.
Right.
He's a California boy, but I think he's adjusted here in Michigan. And he also has a coaching staff who believes in him. He did not have the mental part is so important in sports. You have to have trust in somebody. I think Dan Campbell and everybody has trust in him.
Ben Johnson, yeah.
Ben Johnson has trust in him. Because if it's not there, then he's the Jared Goff that L.A. threw out. or tossed aside.
When you say he's a grinder, do you think athletes would view that as a negative? Because as a quarterback, what do you want to be known as? Grinder is more used as a running back or an offensive lineman, the guys who spit blood on a day-to-day basis, right?
Yeah, but I look at him as a grinder is he's going to make the right play.
Okay.
He's going to think the right way, and he's going to put the Lions in the best position to win. No, he's not going to throw the ball 80 yards on his knees. No, he's not going to make all the, score 80, 90 points in the game or anything silly like that. But if the Lions in 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3, which they were before, he's going to make the play.
Is he better than you thought he was when the Lions traded for him? How much did you follow him as a Ram? Did lead him to a Super Bowl, but how much did you follow him and think, you know what, that's a plug-and-play type of guy?
I thought the early Jared Goff was plug-and-play, and then what I saw later, I'm like, nah, don't want him. Keep him in L.A. But then, he's changed. And I do believe that if you have someone that believes in you, that's going to change your mindset and is going to play, you're going to change the way that you play.
Yeah.
That I think Jared Goff felt a pressure in L.A. Okay, I got to make this play. I got to do something spectacular. Here, all they're telling you, hey, dude, it's 3rd and 8. Just make the 8-yard play. Or
well, that's a tough play to make. Look, if there's pressure here just because it's not
how about
L.A.
3rd and 4?
Listen, I would argue this. I think there's more pressure as a Detroit Lions quarterback than there would be as an L.A. Rams, L.A. Chargers quarterback.
No, that's true.
I think Detroit demands more just because it's L.A. in a bigger market. I don't think they care or are passionate about their football
they don't
like
care.
they are here.
But if you have your coaches bitching at you in the room saying you're not worth anything, then that puts not only pressure on you, but depending on your mentality, you don't perform as well as you could. Here you got Dan Campbell slapping you on the back and want to say you want to chaw tobacco, whatever, you want to hang out, what do you want to do?
Give me a pinch.
Yeah. That changes. Okay, this is my boy here.
Yeah.
Not just my coach, but that changes.
Play a game with me for a second because you sparked something in my brain here regarding Jared Goff. I'm going to mention 3 teams, okay? I'm going to mention the team. I want you to tell me the first player who comes to mind, okay?
Okay.
Philadelphia Eagles.
Jalen Hurts.
Kansas City Chiefs.
They had this new young quarterback named Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
Oh, I should have said Travis Kelce.
No, don't.
Because
I'm glad you didn't. I'm super, super glad that you didn't. Dallas Cowboys.
Prescott.
Okay. So you just named 3 quarterbacks. I think if you name at least a dozen teams, that's what you're going to be thinking about.
Correct.
Like, I love Micah Parsons. I think Micah Parsons is a hell of a lot better than Dak Prescott is, but I understand why you go Dak Prescott because he's a quarterback. If I say Detroit Lions, do you say Jared Goff?
I do not.
I think the Lions are one of the few teams in football where you don't mention their quarterback as the face or the first name that pops into your head. Am I wrong there?
No, you're not. I think the first names I would think of would be Hutchinson,
right,
or St. Brown.
Exactly, 100%.
Right.
I agree 100% with you. As a matter of fact, I might even I'm kind of a geek in this regard. I might gravitate towards some of the offensive linemen. I love building a team from the inside out. That's why I think Brad Holmes has done such a good job. I think that's why Dan Campbell's really good. Tight ends, you got to be really smart. He's a former tight end at the NFL level. I really love how they built this team, but I truly believe that some of those names pop into your head as much as Jared Goff.
No, you are a geek because offensive linemen, no matter how great they are, nameless, faceless.
Right.
We only mention them when they make a mistake.
You're right, and you and I have been. In that locker room before. We've talked to offensive linemen. I vividly remember a couple of times where you and I may have been talking to a specific player, whether it be Jeff Backus, Dominic Raiola, and they don't want to talk about themselves. So It's really hard to. They're the closest unit, I think, in any sport. Offensive linemen together, unless you maybe go relievers because they're always out in the bullpen.
I know that, but the Denver Broncos back in the day, their offensive line wouldn't even talk to you.
Yeah.
So, when you go around the locker room, usually they say the smartest guys, not quarterback, it's the offensive lineman.
Yeah. That's what they'll tell you. And just so people are aware, in case you haven't been in a locker room, what you'll do is you'll walk in. Offensive linemen will be all together.
Right.
And then it used to be where the D-backs were here, and then it was the D-backs would continue. Then it's the quarterbacks and the running backs. Suddenly you get to the wide receivers, and then you get the defensive linemen and linebackers over here. That's how it used to be at Ford Field.
It's still that way. Like, for instance, the Lions, they have the starters on this wall here, and then they have the backups on this wall here, and they're kind of next to each other. But now the offensive line had so many injuries that it became like a mixed bag. It was like the starters and the backups were kind of all together because a lot of the backups were starting, and so that was a hodgepodge.
Yeah, but they always stick together. And you're going to talk more about that on Woodward and Maine, right? I mean, you got the game day show coming up on Sunday here on Woodward Sports, so looking forward to that an awful lot. The Joe Burrow injury, not sure if it's definitive that he's out for the rest of the year. If he is, he would join a list of a lot of impactful names, including Deshaun Watson, who was recently he's got to go under the knife. So that means the Browns lose Deshaun Watson for the rest of the season. That is a massive blow. Second straight. Remember, last year he missed 11 games due to suspension. So now he's done, and they're taking on Pittsburgh this week. Both teams are 6-3. Daniel Jones is lost for the year. Aaron Rodgers obviously lost for the year. You've seen some Anthony Richardson in Indianapolis lost for the year. Some big blows to that situation, and now you're forcing in guys like, Minshew is in there for crying out loud for the Colts. But you've lost key players for key teams that had high expectations. The Lions would be no different. It's interesting, we don't think of Jared Goff right away when you mention the Lions, and yet he's probably their most important player. Because if he goes down, how do you truly feel about Teddy Bridgewater as the backup? Not super confident.
Nor should you be. But the problem with this town is, and it hasn't been that big this year, but usually we want to see the backup play. We always think the backup is better than the starter, and that's baloney. But, you mentioned all these
injuries.
Same
in hockey, by the way.
Yeah, I
always want the backup goalie for crying out loud.
Well, for the Wings, you actually do want the backup this year.
Reimer was pretty good yesterday.
Right.
Later on, not early on, but later on. Stay with us. When we come back, Jim Harbaugh's back up to a certain extent. Sharon has done a really nice job in a couple of games that he has coached this year as the head coach against Bowling Green, and then recently against Penn State. He will be with them the rest of the way.
Did you really say Bowling Green?
Yeah, he did. He was the head coach against Bowling Green.
Shame on you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Well, it's a MAC school, but it's the MAC East. It's not the MAC West. Don't hate me too much. Here's more with Spencer Raxter.
You about Guardian Alarm. Guardian Alarm offers you customized solutions from real experts. Their professional technicians take the time to recommend security and automation solutions specific to your needs. They also have 24/7 professional monitoring. You can call them anytime, day or night, and know a Guardian Alarm team member will stay on the phone as long as needed. And of course, they have technology backed by people. Your safety and security deserves technology. It's been proven to work, and people who have been proven to care. So call them at 1-800-STAY-OUT. That's 1-800-STAY-OUT, and let them know Big D Energy sent you. And also, let me tell you about Les Stanford. What happens when you run a great business for over 50 years? You expand that business to offer more products to more people. That is exactly what Les Stanford did by adding Les Stanford Buick GMC, the same great service that customers have come to know and trust on Woodward Avenue just south of 9 Mile. Check out Les Stanford in Dearborn today and find the brand you want at lesstanford.com. Les Stanford, find new roads.
Calling all landscapers, this is Darren McCarty. I'm at Outdoor Equipment Co. How would you like to landscape like a legend? How about a bad boy zero turn? And even a chainsaw. And even a weed whipper. Whether you landscape for your job or landscape for fun, get all your equipment from Outdoor Equip Co., the official equipment provider of Woodward Sports. Michigan grown, family owned. OutdoorEquipCo.com.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot off the press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Dick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Your home is your most important asset. Flexibility in the sales process is key. When you work with Mark White and Associates, you can cancel at any time, for any reason, without penalty. Speaking of flexibility, check this out. Who you work with matters. Hire the best broker in the game.
For over 60 years, Fairway Packing Co. has provided Michigan's finest restaurants, hotels, and casinos with prime beef, Wagyu beef, and dry-aged beef. Experience the Fairway difference for yourself today. Visit the steak shop in Grosse Pointe Woods for grab-and-go steaks or order online at fairwaypackingco.com. Now, we're back to Shep and Terry.
That sounds good, doesn't it? Fairway Steaks right now.
It does. And I got a little background for you.
Okay.
That you might appreciate.
On steaks?
Fairway Packing.
Oh, good. Bring it.
The owners of the old Lindell AC.
Oh, baby, you used to work there.
I used to work there. They used to, I guess you get different grinds of meat. They used to make their beef at Fairway Packing.
Okay, you're making me really hungry right now.
They had like a meat recipe they did, and so they folded it up for them.
If I could bring back one landmark in Detroit, that would probably be it. It was, I don't look, I think Spencer, Jeremy, and Mike are all much younger than us. I think that's fair to say. They look younger, they sound younger, and they can drink more. Although Terry and I are chips. Have you guys ever heard of the Lindell AC? You've never? Okay.
America's first sports bar, brother.
Do you mind if can I divert from the Michigan news here for just a moment?
Ahead.
Little small place. You guys recognize that some of the best places in the world don't have high-rise ceilings. They don't have chandeliers. They don't have clean utensils all the time.
And they kind of stink.
Yeah. Sometimes the hole in the wall is the best, right? The Lindell AC seated 40?
No, 155.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Boy, that's shoulder to shoulder then.
Mm-hmm. It was.
You would walk in, and there's a board up on the wall, and it was basically in chalk, and you could just say, burgers, cheeseburgers, fries, pop. There was no, hey, do you want some sushi?
Yeah.
Would you like a chicken sandwich? Would you like boneless wings? Nothing like that. It was burgers and beer and the decor was out of this world.
Yeah, it wasn't the best in the world.
No, but you had pictures up all over
of every
the entire
sports
bar.
Hero
Every sports hero. All the umpires who umped at Tiger Stadium, all the players and coaches from Tiger Stadium and Joe Louis Arena and Olympia before that would all go in there afterwards. Mm-hmm. Regale us on a couple.
Yeah, it was great. And wasn't a chalkboard, it was plastic.
Plastic,
yeah,
that's right.
You would pop out the plastic to change the prices when that burger went up to 75 cents.
And that's what it was. That's what it was. I don't want to sound like your dad, like back in my day when I walked up hills to school, then walked back uphill to go back home. But you can tell that place was loved.
It was very loved.
Yeah.
Now, back then, you could sit down and have a beer and a burger with, like, Willie Horton or Gates Brown or any of the Tigers.
Dick the Bruiser or Billy Martin used to go in there all the time, the former Tigers
today,
manager.
When they tell you, oh, come over here to Bob's, so-and-so is going to be there. So you walk in, and there's a roped-off area, and you can see so-and-so, but you can't touch him, you can't talk to him. I mean, this time – back then, you were elbow to elbow with professional athletes.
Oh, God, I love that place. Here's where my mind goes. My wife texts me during the break, I've got greens. She means for the outside of the house. I thought she meant Greens Hamburgers in Farmington Hills. That's how crazy my mind is working here this morning and how hungry I got.
I was thinking collard greens.
Okay.
Because Thanksgiving's coming up.
Okay. Are you hosting, by the way? Is your family hosting?
No, next year.
Next year. Okay.
This year, Big Ralph is hosting.
Oh, okay. We got about 35 in our barn coming. It's going to be an absolute crazy day. It's kind of crazy too. The story in college football has been, how long has it been, guys? For 3-4 weeks regarding Jim Harbaugh?
No, it's been longer than that, hasn't it? It's been like almost a couple months.
Okay, with the
Because it
with
started
the
out
Connor
with
Stallion stuff.
Yeah, we started
Okay.
with the unnamed sources, and then there was a whole bunch of stories. But the real stuff has probably been 3 or 4 weeks.
Yeah,
but
3 or
it's
4
been
weeks.
longer than that.
Yeah,
as far as
what's disturbing to me, and I get it's a story. What's disturbing to me is I think we've lost sight of how good the team is, number one. And number two, that the student athletes oftentimes get punished for what the dumb adults oftentimes do. We'll get to what Jim Harbaugh has done and what he said here in a minute, but I think the breaking news, it's worth repeating. Jeremy Bryant, one of our associate producers, gave us this. Chris Partridge, the linebackers coach for Michigan, and Michigan's defense is as good, fast, physical as any defense in the country. I'm not saying they're better than Georgia. I just think they're really, really talented. He's been fired today. And taking over for him, I believe, is Chris Minter, right? What do you make of that?
You know, the first thing that went through my mind, and I don't know anything, is
I'm
that
sorry, Jesse Minter. I said Chris
Jesse
Minter.
The first thing went to my mind is that Minter was the guy, not Minter, but
Partridge.
Partridge was the guy that knew what was going on with the sign stealing thing.
Yeah.
Why would you fire a linebacking coach who has one of the best linebacking core in America?
Right. Why would you do that? And it's Rick Minter, by the way, Jesse Minter's brother. Rick Minter is going to take over. All this stuff leads to speculation. And you and I, we first started the show today about Carissa Thompson and what she said as a sideline reporter and how she made stuff up. You and I hate to speculate. We want proof and evidence before we start to judge. That's not easy today. Most people don't do that. Because of social media, because of all the things that are out there, you're quick to judge on everything. On this situation, on a Friday afternoon, where your team will board a plane in a little bit more than an hour and a half to travel to Maryland to take on a Maryland team that's got a decent offense at times, last couple of weeks maybe not so much, to get rid of your linebackers coach at this time of the season with only 2 games left and the day before a big game strikes me as very odd and leads to a lot of speculation.
Yeah, there's something going on there. Now, we're not going to make up stuff, but you asked me what do I make of that.
Yeah.
And all I can go by is instincts. And my instinct said this guy had something to do with the sign stealing stuff.
Yeah.
Because it makes no sense to fire him. None.
Yeah, I agree.
Unless he's being Me Too'd or something like that, something we don't know.
Yeah, but I think it's a little bit of a leap, but I think it's warranted. When people see something like this happen at a very odd time, and the investigation by the Big Ten is concluded, right? That's what they said yesterday. Jim Harbaugh and Michigan have accepted the 3-game suspension. Big Ten has done with their investigation, if they even had one. The speculation would be what they found out, what they told Michigan, involved Chris Partridge, and made Michigan say, Jim, accept the 3-game ban, and we move forward. Is that fair?
Yes, and fire a linebacker coach who
Right.
we investigated and found out he knew some stuff that here's the problem with this. You will get Michigan fans to say, there's nothing going on here. What are you talking about? Our program's getting screwed. And then you get people who hate Michigan say, cheaters. They're up there here and they're hiding and stuff like this. The problem is we probably know about 20, 25% of what's going on there because Michigan is very secretive.
Most schools would be, though.
Well, they're especially secretive.
Okay.
They had a FOIA, and usually it takes forever to get a
Freedom
FOIA.
of Information Act, in case people were wondering. Yeah.
And but the FOIA showed that Michigan had no financial links
Right.
towards this guy stealing the
Connor
signs.
Stallions,
And stuff. Yes,
right.
Connor Stallions. So now all of a sudden it's like, bam,
Yeah.
here it is real quick.
It did open, I think, for the Big Ten and perhaps the NCAA, which you and I started the show, and you made mention about, look, there's a lot of people who don't trust the media in the first place. I don't think anybody trusts the NCAA. That's maybe a topic for a different day. But with what's going on here with these two things, I think, most people feel like their school would be somewhat secretive. I bet you there's a ton of coaches on the Michigan staff that would love to say something but can't from legal representation and for various reasons.
Or they get fired.
Or they may get fired. But when you see somebody who's had success, and remember, Chris Partridge was hired away from a really successful high school program, I think in Paramus, New Jersey, left and then came back. When you see something like this taking place, I think it does lead to the proper speculation that we've just discussed. That said, Jim Harbaugh accepting this type of punishment seems a little odd to me, only because he said Monday he looks forward to going into Washington County Court and fighting for what he thinks is the righteous decision in this whole thing.
Maybe at the end of the day, as he slept on, he says, I don't have much to fight for. So let me just be quiet. No one's going to know the truth, and we'll get out this, so I get suspended for a few games, and then we just move on.
But he's got a ton to fight for. He wants to be the head coach on the sidelines when they win their 1,000th game in school history.
Okay, that's
he
cute.
wants to.
That's really cute.
He wants to beat Ohio State. These things matter. You know that, though.
No. Would you rather be on the sideline for your 1,000th, or not be on the sideline for your 1,000th game, or stuff comes out because you're stubborn that really makes the program look bad?
Is it stubbornness or belief?
I think in this case it's stubbornness.
And I think there's a lot of people who truly believe. Look, you said Michigan fans think we didn't do anything wrong. I think their frustration is the lack of evidence. They want proof. You want me to believe in something, prove it to me. We say this all the time in sports. I want to believe in Jared Goff, prove it to me. I want to believe in a certain Cade Cunningham, prove it to me. You want to show me that you're the best player on this team, Spencer Torkelson, prove it to me why you deserve to be the first overall pick, and he did it. We want proof all the time. And yet the Big Ten goes about and says, honestly, that they don't have the proof. That's the opening of a can of worms that is going to lead to a really dangerous slope.
They're also saying that their proof is coming from the NCAA, who hasn't said anything, and you said correctly so. Nobody trusts the NCAA.
Right.
So they're getting information from the NCAA, which they're putting in some pot somewhere, and they're using that to punish Harbaugh and Michigan also. So, but, you know, we may never know what that proof is or if it's true. So this is a sticky situation. Normally when we have discussions, like, oh, Shep, this is what happened, blah, 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 and I throw my head back and act like a cock and everything.
Yeah.
And I see I know everything. This one is one where I'm like, you know what? I really don't know what's going on, because you hear this and you hear that and you hear stuff all over the place.
Gotcha. Speaking of being very confident and cocky, are the Lions. Could it be too much as they get ready for the Bears? That's coming up next here on Woodward Sports. Here's Spencer Raxter.
First, though, let me tell you about Big Boy, because wintertime in Detroit is always better with comfort foods from Big Boy.
They've got good burgers.
They have great burgers.
Yeah.
And they also have the veal parmesan, the Southern Comfort chicken bowl. But what about breakfast? They have the stuffed potato pancakes, classic lumberjack or Santa Fe Garden. Also, the new apple pie hotcakes that are too good to miss. You could top it all off with a new gingerbread shake for dessert. Stop by your local Big Boy today for all of that and more.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Stick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
Come to any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience from one of our talented stylists, and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. That's right, college basketball's most elite event. You and your 5 best friends just get to any Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically register to win the trip of your dreams. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's, it's wicked awesome.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
How would you like to win a $100K Vegas getaway? Take your closest friends and live it up in the city that never sleeps. It's the Cintron Energy. Drink it and live it. Purchase a 24-pack today and enter to win. Register at drinkcintron.com/Vegas and buy Cintron at your local Meijer store. Cintron, the healthier energy drink with great taste. Look good, feel great, and be the best version of yourself with Cintron. Go to drinkcintron.com/Vegas to figure out how you can sign up to win. Now, back to Shep and Terry.
We're at the Dispo here in Romeo. It's raining outside, but it's dry and it's clean and it's friendly here
and it
inside.
Smells good in here.
It does smell good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Originally, I thought it might have been me, but no, I don't think that's the case. I love this part of Dispo. There's a food drive, a couple of boxes here. You can bring in some food when you come here as well. So our thanks to Darren and Sean Dabish for having us out here. We love being out here. We know they love the Lions, and we know that this town has really gravitated toward the Lions. You and I have not covered many Lions winning seasons. We have not covered a team that I believe is the epitome of this city. You were born and raised in this city. I was born and raised in the burbs, but I consider myself a Detroiter. What I love most, and you and I go all over the country, what I love most is bragging about our city and how much better it is now, but how passionate the people are and how real the people are. I've always said that. The Midwest for sure, but especially here in Detroit. I think this Lions team is the epitome of what the city is all about. Other teams that I used to think that about, the 68 and 84 Tigers, not just because they won world championships, it's because of how they gravitated toward the city, even though they all weren't from there. Not everybody was Willie Horton, okay, in 68. But there was a piece of everybody on that team who felt like Detroit. 84, we covered those guys. Trammell was from California. Lou Whitaker was from down south. Not everybody was Kirk Gibson from Waterford. But they felt like Detroiters to us. I think this Lions team is as close to any team in Lions history that I've ever covered that epitomizes this city.
No, that's true, and I think a lot of it has to do. I mean, keep going back to Dan Campbell, but Dan Campbell played for the Lions, and for him, this was personal. Mm-hmm. And so, the thing that I found out that these guys, dealing with the Lions, a lot of what they say and what they do, this is like dropped from the tree from Dan Campbell. Mm-hmm. And nobody out there cares about this, but in my 32 years of dealing with athletics, this is the nicest locker room I've ever dealt with. And so I've told
people. For the
people,
Lions, you're saying?
No, period.
Sports
in
wow.
Detroit.
Wow.
Now, some people, wow, of course, because they're winning and blah, blah, blah. Well, 89 Pistons won. The 90 Pistons won.
They weren't very nice.
Yeah, they weren't nice all the time. 84 Tigers won. They weren't nice all the time.
Oh, you better believe that's true.
But these guys, it's like, dang. I mean, one time, I think it was Alex Anzalone.
Yeah.
I was interviewing him, and he thought my tape recorder stopped. And he stopped. And he just said, are you okay? Is it working? Or I said, yeah, it's just going on. It just turns off, shuts off, but it's still working. So he took the time out.
Wow. That's cool.
And then that happened. I was doing the story on the linemen, too. Mm-hmm. And to a man, they were like, what do you need?
Really?
We good? Yeah.
Let's not confuse nice and soft.
No.
You can be nice.
How about professional?
Yeah, that's a better way to use it. Yeah. But I think there's a not even a quiet toughness anymore. And it's not because Dan Campbell comes out and says some of the things that he said at his press conference when he was first named head coach. It's just about how they play. And I think that stems from how Brad Holmes has built it. He built it from the inside out. Defensive line was a priority. Offensive line was a priority. I love Amos St. Brown. I love Jahmyr Gibbs, okay? I'm a big tight end guy, so I like Sam Laporta. But it starts for him and this team, and I think in the city up front, don't you?
Oh, it absolutely does. And these guys are the backbone of this team.
Yep.
We We love what St. Brown does. We love what Laporta does. We love what Goff does. But none of that is possible without the toughness on the offensive line. And these are men. There's guys who are men. Mm-hmm. These are men.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, like
these
real
are badasses.
Men. Right.
Yeah. Yeah, they love there's an old cliche about offensive linemen, and how they love to run the football. They rather run the football than throw the football because it means you get to maul people. Mm-hmm. This team does just that. When you've got guys like Ragnow and Jackson and Glasnow, and you've got Decker and Sewell, you can tell. They love to run the football.
Oh,
and they're getting a lot of love nationally, and for good reason. Some people think it's the second best offensive line in football. I'm not smart enough to know whether or not that's the case.
So you didn't break it down on film last night?
I didn't go and break it down and rewind it, and go slow-mo and all that other stuff. Philly's really good. Proof is in the pudding.
It is.
This is as balanced a Lions team. You and I covered Barry Sanders.
Right.
You and I covered Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford was a great quarterback. Never had a good running game. Never above 15, ranked 15. That's not even, that's the midway point. Mm-hmm. He had 1 year, I believe, as a defense that was ranked highly. It was second in the NFL, led by Ndamukong Suh and those guys. This team has great balance. I don't think they're complete, but I think they have great balance.
They do. I remember interviewing the great Charlie Batch.
Great dude.
Yeah, he was a great dude, but I was a little critical of him. And he found we were in the locker room. We went outside the locker room. He said, dude, I don't have a running game.
Yeah.
So what you want to see happen here, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Because
until we get a running game.
Because we don't have it now. And part of it was they didn't have the offensive line. Even with Barry Sanders, that offensive line had Lomas Brown and Kevin Glover.
Yeah, I thought their offensive line was underrated. I didn't think it was as good as the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not saying there was Nate Newton there.
No, you know what? Here's our disagreement. I don't think it was underrated. I thought that
Kevin Glover was really good.
You had
Lomas Brown's a Hall of Famer. Come on.
But still, the offensive line kind of stunk a little bit.
Okay, remember they lost two guys too. Eric Andlusek died, and Mike Utley was paralyzed.
Right.
But when they had Andlusek in there and Utley, they were pretty damn good. They were. They were. I'm not saying they were as good as Dallas. I thought they were pretty damn good. I've always felt like people feel like Barry did it all on his own, and Barry Sanders is the greatest running back I've ever seen. And there's a really cool documentary coming out on Prime, Bye Bye Barry, Why Did He Leave, all that other stuff. He's by far, just watch his highlights and you'll be in awe, okay? Your jaw will drop. I think Billy Sims was an unbelievable player too. Might have been as good, if not better, than Barry had he stayed healthy. However, I think people kind of said it was all about Barry because of how much he freelanced. And I don't think they gave the offensive line nearly enough credit.
All right, you know one of those persons who doesn't give the offensive line enough credit? This guy. Here's what I saw. Hand off to Barry, and Barry's looking at three dudes like, okay, what am I going to do? I got to freelance my way through them before I can start rolling.
And he did it, but you know who will tell you they were underrated?
Who?
Barry.
No, of course he has to, man.
Yeah. Well, he doesn't have to. He doesn't have to worry about that anymore.
Well, he still sees them, and they're still buds and stuff like that.
Well, yeah. Okay,
I get it. Lomas Brown. You know what Lomas Brown tried to do?
He's a good man.
Every time Barry ran the ball, he tried to run up and pick him up because he said that man deserved that because of the way that he ran the football.
Yeah.
But, in a little gentle nudge, I guess we're going to have to disagree on this one.
Yeah, that's okay. That's what this is all about. I don't, in today's NFL, you do not focus on running backs as much. I think Christian McCaffrey is a hell of a player. I think Alvin Kamara is a hell of a player. But you just don't see the emphasis on the run game like it used to. And maybe that's because you don't have guys like Eric Dickerson and Barry Sanders and guys like that. It reminds me now of when Lydell Mitchell played for the Colts and Chuck Foreman played for the Vikings, and there were some interchangeable parts now. There's not that superstar running back like there used to be on a regular basis when Tony Dorsett and those guys played back.
And you don't need that anymore. But it used to be, let me get my bell cow. I'm going to run this dude 30 times a game.
Right.
The Lions finally, in year 3 of Dan Campbell, got it right. It's the two-headed monster now with Montgomery and Gibbs.
Mm-hmm.
you don't want to run a guy 30 times because you know what? He's going to be on the sideline in crutches or something like that. I like the fact that they're
load management. Are you talking about load management?
Load management, but it's different from the NBA. And load management in NBA means I'm not showing up in that game.
It means I'm taking the day off.
Right, I'm taking the day off.
Right, that's a good point.
I got on my silk suit. I hope y'all like it because you ain't going to see me play today.
Where's the camera? Here I am right there. David Montgomery will play against his old squad. Do you believe that there's extra incentive for players against their ex-team?
Absolutely. But here's what you get before the game. No, it's just another game. I would just want to help the ball club win and everything. You know, that's a bunch of baloney. We get lied to all the time. But then if you run into David Montgomery 10 years from now, he says, oh, yeah, I was motivated. I was in the locker room saying, man, we got to beat these mugs.
He's been pretty motivated so far. He's been a hell of a pickup. I think a lot of people wondered aloud, was it a good choice? Of course, they also wondered aloud whether Jahmyr Gibbs was a good selection. I think a lot of people are changing their minds at that. That's a quick first hour for us here with Terry Foster. I'm Matt Shepard. We are live at Dispo here in Romeo. More on the other side. But first, Spencer Raxter has some words of wisdom for you.
About Swiss insurance, of course, because if you have football on the brain like we all do, fall ushers in college and professional football, and this year is going to be awesome. Fall is also the perfect time for you to shop your home and auto insurance. Shop it like a pro with Swiss Insurance. They cover Woodward sports, and they should be covering you too. You can hit up Mark at Swiss Insurance today or at SwissINS.com, or you can give him a call at 248-800-4177. That's 248-800-4177. It's Mark with Swiss Insurance.
Gabby is a college student struggling to study for her big exam. Then she discovered Syntron, a healthy way for her to stay awake and focus. Jennifer frequently has chaotic days like this until she gets online, orders some Syntron, and finds her groove. April visited her local grocery store, purchased a case of Syntron, and entered to win the Syntron 100K Vegas giveaway. Pick up your case of Syntron today at any Meijer location or visit drinksyntron.com/Vegas and enter for the 100K Vegas giveaway.
Now, coming to Woodward Sports, Woodward and Main Street, the Woodward Sports Network Detroit Lions show. Catch Gabrielle D. Phillips, Matt Broder, and Terry Foster for all the latest news on your Detroit Lions every week. Only on the Woodward Sports Network YouTube channel and woodwardsports.com. Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, two of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
Hour number 2 here from Dispo in Romeo with Terry Foster. I'm Matt Shepard. Our thanks to Spencer Raxter, Jeremy Bryant, Mike Gentry for joining us and being here helping us out.
I hate to interrupt you, but I have to ask you a critical question.
Okay.
You've done an hour. Are you having fun?
I'm having a blast.
Okay. Just want to make sure.
Oh, it's fantastic.
All right. I don't want you on here like, oh, God, I got to do the show with this Dirk.
No. Look, you and I, we've crossed paths for our careers for 30 years. Mm-hmm. I've always respected your opinion. That doesn't mean I agree with it.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with that.
No, but you don't want to go around in life saying all the time, me too, I agree, blah, blah, blah. That's boring.
It is boring.
Yeah.
But I like to talk and banter with people who can change my mind. You can change my mind. Mm-hmm. It's going to take a lot. And I think that's the way it is in life. I think people, we make pretty quick assessment of people. Especially in our business, reading your stuff, watching you, listening to you. I just went through it as well. A quick synopsis of whether or not we think that person is worthy of our attention or not. Mm-hmm. It's hard to change your mind. Athletes go through this all the time. And I'll use the example I used earlier. I'll use Spencer Torkelson of the Tigers. First overall pick, Arizona State, would have broken Bob Horner's all-time record there at a really rich school for home run hitters. He's the first overall pick. They rush him to the major leagues because everybody in Detroit wanted to see him anyway, right?
Correct.
They did. Everyone was like, God, we got to get this guy up. We stink. We need some infusion of youth. He wasn't ready. They bring him up, and he struggles mightily. Anybody, you don't have to cover Tiger baseball for 32 years like you have, and you sure didn't have to play at a high level to understand this was going to be a transition. And people were automatic. He's a bust. What does he do this past year? Hits over 30 bombs. Drives in over 90 runs. I don't care what he's hitting because that's a statistic that's ridiculous now. He's also pretty damn good at scoops. I think he finished second in the league in scoops at first base. Do you think he's a good player now? Here's what I get. Well, let's see if he can do it for another year. Oh, so now you're moving the goalposts on me. Is that what you're doing?
Here's what I've been hearing. Yeah, but he gets those bombs against bad pitching.
Oh, okay. But if a guy hits a homer, but when Shohei Ohtani hits 2 off bad Tigers pitching, he's the cat's meow, right? That's my favorite argument. My favorite argument is when people go, well, the Lions beat the Chiefs, but the Chiefs didn't have Kelsey, and they didn't have this guy, or they didn't have that guy. And then I say, were the Lions fully healthy?
Asterisk.
Yeah. They want to put an asterisk next to it. Were the Lions fully healthy? How come you're not willing to use that excuse for your team? It's really hard for us to do, I think. No excuse here, but in 2 weeks, you're going to have people finalizing their Heisman Trophy, 2 or 3 weeks, Heisman Trophy ballot. Let's face it, you and I, you've had a Heisman vote before, I think, haven't you? So have I. It's primarily a quarterback running back award, and it's really turned into a quarterback award. Just as of last week, the favorite was Bo Nix out of Oregon, who some people still can't believe he's still playing college football because I think he's eligible to run for president. Jaden Daniels of LSU, who I would vote for today if I had to vote. That's today. Michael Penix of Washington, and a little bit later on, Marvin Harrison Jr. of Ohio State. Where do you stand on a wide receiver like Marvin Harrison Jr. being in the discussion?
I like it. If you just look at numbers and things like that, you probably would say, no, Marvin Harrison doesn't deserve that. But what I see from Marvin Harrison is when it's time to decide the game, he's there. He's making that catch, and nobody's going to stop him. So sometimes I look at more than numbers. I'm looking at impact on the game.
Right. No, I love that about you, and I think that's really important to do just that. You have to. Numbers, we get way too caught up in numbers, but I would tell you this. In terms of receiving, he's really not close in terms of receiving yards. Mm-hmm. And if you want to look at touchdowns, too, he's got 12 touchdowns, which I believe is a new single-season record for an Ohio State wide receiver, but he trails Brian Thomas of LSU in that regard. Here's how I look at it. Because it's viewed, fairly or unfairly, as a quarterback or running back's award, you have to be exceptional to do something other than that. Tim Brown was the first wide receiver to win the Heisman. His numbers were not all that special. We know who defensive players, like I still would have, Hugh Green was unbelievable at Pittsburgh. I think he deserved to win the Heisman Trophy that year. I voted for Manti Te'o one year. So I'm not a guy who is stuck on quarterbacks or running backs. But I do believe a certain precedent has been set. And when you look at Marvin Harrison Jr., how much do you have to take into account what recent wide receivers did, including Devontae Smith of Alabama, who won the Heisman, what they did to get at least going to New York? Let me give you some numbers. And this is why I don't think Harrison belongs there. He has 59 catches, 1,063 yards, and 12 touchdowns. When Devontae Smith won the award, he had 117 rocks, 1,856 yards, and 23 touchdowns.
That's special.
He did not play, with all due respect, Michigan State's defense, where Marvin Harrison Jr. did last week. Let me give you another one. Dede Westbrook, you remember him from Oklahoma? He went to New York. 80 catches, 1,524 yards, and 17 touchdowns. That gets you to New York. Amari Cooper, Alabama. This one's going to blow your mind. 124 catches, 1,727 yards, and 16 scores. Those are blowing away what Marvin Harrison Jr. When Desmond Howard won the Heisman, we all know he won it as not just a wide receiver, but also as a special teams guy. Mm-hmm. But he had 17 receiving touchdowns through 8 weeks in 1991. That's just through 8 weeks. That's how good he was. I think Marvin Harrison Jr. might be the best college player in America. He'll win the Silver Football. He might be the first overall pick. And I don't know if you'd necessarily disagree. That doesn't mean that he belongs in New York for a Heisman. Braylon Edwards is coming up with Ryan Ermanni at 2 o'clock today. I'd love to know what he thinks about that because he was an outstanding player as well. I just don't think Marvin Harrison Jr.'s numbers, whether they're his fault or not, take him to New York. I don't believe it.
I don't believe he goes to New York, but I think the question was, should he be considered?
Okay.
I look at him as the 4th or 5th guy. Are they sending 3 to New York now? I think
they sent 4.
Did they? I thought a few years they only sent 3.
Yeah.
But he's like the 4th or 5th guy, so he's just kind of on that edge and everything. The next time you see young Mr. Edwards, ask him about the Braylon Edwards game with Michigan State. He's still a little bit chapped about that, even though he ended up winning. He had told his coaches earlier in the day, go to me, they can't cover me.
Right.
But Michigan's trying to run the ball, and they're trying to do all these manly things. And so finally, they're like, damn, we down
3 yards
2.
in a cloud of dust,
Right.
Terry.
We down 2, what we going to do? And Braylon's like, what about me?
Excuse me, I'm an All-American.
Right.
I'm right here outside the numbers.
So then they went to him. I watched him destroy Michigan State. I was in the end zone. I just said, I'm going to watch him in the end zone and see what this dude's doing. It was crazy.
Yeah.
He was like doing little slant routes and everything, and nobody could stay with him. And when they got on him, he was so strong, he just shrugged him off, said, get away from me, boy.
Well, Braylon was one of those guys. Look, our friend Kirk Gibson was like this, too, at Michigan State. One of those guys who could literally say, I'm going to run a slant, and there's nothing you can do about it. I'm going to run a go route. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't stop me. That's who Braylon Edwards was. That's who Kirk Gibson was. I think that's who Marvin Harrison Jr. is. I'm not taking anything away from his skill. All I'm saying is when you have those types of numbers and there's a certain bar set, that's the hard thing about it. And look, when you think about it, we didn't even bring up Caleb Williams. Think about this. The guy who won it a year ago, the guy who has really impressive numbers right now out of USC, and a guy who's probably going to have some of his votes taken away because of Bo Nix, right, at Oregon. We haven't even brought that up. Why? Because Caleb Williams is measured against not necessarily Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels or Drake May. He's measured against Caleb Williams of 2022. It's why I've always said Wayne Gretzky's 9 consecutive MVPs is one of the most impressive things in sports ever. Because writers and people were voting, they weren't measuring Wayne Gretzky against certain players in the NHL. They were measuring Wayne Gretzky against those players and Wayne Gretzky of the previous year. And yet he won it 9 years ago.
That's what's going to happen with Ohtani.
You're right.
Yeah, it's like, well, hey, I batted 320 this year, and then say, yeah, but you batted 340 2 years ago. So.
Well, didn't that happen to him last year?
Yeah.
I'm not saying Aaron Judge didn't deserve it. Man amongst boys at times. And anybody who hits 60 home runs, right? Okay. But Shohei Ohtani was measured against, you're right, Shohei Ohtani of the previous year when he was unanimous MVP. By the way, I think he's the first ever player to win unanimous MVP twice in his career. I think Michael Jordan, and I can't stand him because I'm a Pistons guy, can't stand the Bulls, but you can respect him. Michael Jordan was measured against. Shaquille O'Neal was measured against.
I was just thinking
it too.
about him. I got a little tidbit to tell you.
Okay, good. Give it to me.
When Steve Nash won the MVP over
Right.
Shaq,
Right.
Shaq probably should have won it. But here's what I heard. Well, Shaq can win it every year. Well, I'm like, well, damn, give it to him every year. Then.
Yeah.
You're saying he can win it every year.
Yeah, why would people say that? I don't understand. I never understood that. I'm not a huge...
Oh, you know what, dude? Don't start me.
What?
Don't start on me. Don't play with me today. Mr.
What?
Baseball, man. Answer me this question.
Okay.
Why is it, and a lot of my brethren, why is it that they're a media brethren?
Yeah.
No matter who you are, no matter what you do, when you're on a first ballot Hall of Fame, they're not going to vote for you.
Amen. I'm with you 100%.
Okay, all right.
No.
I don't get that.
You don't get it in baseball, or you don't get it in sports?
In baseball. Baseball is notorious for that.
But you know why? You're a writer. You're an accomplished writer.
I know, but
deal
I don't
with those
do
people.
that stuff. I don't play that game.
Okay, you don't, but you know the people who do, and you know why they do it.
They're the keepers of the game, or whatever you want to call it.
I want you to think about this for a second. Somebody at some point said Willie Mays isn't a first-team Hall of Famer, first ballot Hall of Famer.
Babe Ruth.
Ty Cobb got more votes than anybody in that inaugural Hall of Fame ballot. He got more than Babe Ruth. But somebody chose not to vote for those guys. Somebody chose not to vote for Ken Griffey Jr., who might be the best player of our time.
Right.
Somebody's going to go, I don't think Mike Trout's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Somebody might do that with Miguel Cabrera. It's moronic. And I don't know why it is. Sometimes people hold grudges. Sometimes they hold certain things against them. Curt Schilling should be in the Hall of Fame. There's no doubt about it. If you want a player, you want a big league pitcher, he should be in the Hall of Fame. It's ridiculous. But why do they do it? When you said that about Shaquille O'Neal, it made me think immediately about Phil Jackson. And again, I don't like the Bulls. Can't stand them. Was at the Palace when Michael Jordan came back as a member of the Wizards. I heard people stand and cheer him, and I just about threw up in my mouth.
Oh, you're the other guy. You know, I should give you a hug. Because I've been on that kick for years. Why do y'all kiss Michael Jordan's ass?
Right.
He was the one that destroyed the Detroit Pistons.
But not – what do you mean destroyed?
During his press conference between games 3 and 4
right.
of the 1991 Eastern Conference Finals, Pistons are bad for basketball.
Right.
Yeah. They're bad champions. That's when the league changed a lot of things. And that really hurt them. And the Pistons got old, let's say that. But it also, they couldn't play the way that they could play.
You and I are in the same mindset. That's what I hold against them. In addition to that, keeping Isaiah Thomas off the Olympic team.
Yes.
So for me, this is a guy holding a grudge. I'll be the first to admit it. Magic Johnson went down in my eyes. Chuck Daly went down in my eyes. And Michael Jordan could not rise at all, which is difficult.
Can I give you another person to put in the Shep jail?
Can I ask you to hold that for the break?
Okay.
And then give it to me when we come back? Because I got another example of what you used as Shaquille O'Neal as an excellent example with another person as a coach. You're not going to believe this when we come back here on Woodward Sports. He's Terry Foster. I'm Matt Shepard. We're at the Dispo here in Romeo. And this young man's name is Spencer Raxter.
And I'm here to tell you about Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness is the home of the judgment-free zone where you can work out in a non-intimidating, judgment-free atmosphere. The gym that has always been known for being clean is now cleaner than ever. You can get a full-body workout in just 30 minutes in a 30-minute circuit, and all memberships include fitness training. You get all that for just $10 a month, or you can upgrade to the Black Card for $24.99 and get use of all the amenities. Planet Fitness, join in club or online at planetfitness.com. Planet Fitness, where your fitness is essential.
Savor the heart of home at Big Boy with our all-new down-home comfort dishes. Feast on home-style goodness with our Southern Comfort Chicken Bowl, veal parmigiana, and apple pie hotcakes. The down-home delight doesn't stop there. Potato pancakes are back. Dive into the richness of our perfectly crafted potatoes with our classic potato pancakes and our stuffed potato pancakes. Top off your meal with our new gingerbread shake, a seamless blend of creamy vanilla and sweet gingerbread flavors. Nothing beats the comforting taste of down-home cooking. Enjoy every bite, only at Big Boy.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
Let's talk about Outdoor Equipment Co., official equipment provider of Woodward Sports, Michigan-grown and family-owned bad boy mowers, tractors, steel handhelds, and even weed whippers, Liberty trailers, Generac generators, Snow X plows, and salters. Outdoor Equipment Co. has it all. Buy it, rent it, 0% financing, delivery to your doorstep. OutdoorEquipCo.com, Outdoor Equipment Company, your power equipment playground. Now, back to Shep and Terry.
You know, it really tells you something about a partner when you are supposed to follow a certain, we call it an outline in sports radio and sports television. And when your partner can take you in a route that gets you really passionate about something, with going off the script, I mean, we've got so many things we're supposed to hit on, and we haven't because we've gotten into a really fun conversation about various things. Before the break, you were going to give me a good little nugget before I dive back into the people who didn't deserve as much.
I'm giving you another person to hate.
Oh, okay.
And that person is Scottie Pippen.
Well, that's not hard to do.
I don't think Michael Jordan on his own kept Isaiah off that team. Scottie Pippen was in his ear. And I think he was the one chirping, I don't want this mug on here. Don't, Michael, man, you got to do something. So I think that is what got Michael revved up. It was Scottie Pippen because I got to talk to Jordan during the Ryder Cup.
Yeah.
Because I got between the
ropes. At Oakland Hills?
Oakland Hills,
right.
and he was following somebody.
Yeah.
And so we started talking. We started talking about Joe Dumars mostly.
Because he liked Dumars.
He loves him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he loves Joe Dumars. And so somehow we got on that, and whenever he said, well, but Scotty didn't want this, and Scotty. So I'm like, oh shoot. So are you Scottie Pippen's bitch?
Right. You would think it'd be the other way around.
Yeah, it should be.
Did you look? I know this wasn't on the list, but I'm glad we're talking about it because I haven't been able to find many people who share my sentiment. Do you hold Magic Johnson and/or Chuck Daly responsible at all, like I do?
Yes, Chuck Daly, I'll tell you why. Because specifically Chuck Daly felt an added pressure. It wasn't just Isaiah Thomas that wanted to be on that dream team. Chuck Daly had Joe Dumars and Dennis Rodman who wanted to be on that team. And so he felt, if I let one on, then how am I going to tell these other two that you're not playing?
But one was an icon. Look, when they put that team together, the first two names were who? Magic and Bird. Even though they were older.
Right. And Bird didn't have the back anymore.
Agreed. My argument was if that's how you're going to begin the process, if that's part of the credentials, the third player chosen should have been Isaiah Thomas. Don't tell me they couldn't coexist.
Or Charles Barkley.
They could have easily coexisted.
Okay, they could. Well, they could have, but, you know, from talking to these guys, they thought that Isaiah was going to be a disruptor. And I disagree with that. But here's the other thing that we're fighting against. People just look at stats. You ask young guys like this, and
right.
maybe not Spencer, but you ask a young guy around there, who's a better point guard, John Stockton or Isaiah Thomas? 70% of the people will say Stockton, the young kids, because they look, well, he had all these assists, because he had all these assists and everything. But I just know this. Every time they played head-to-head, and I don't know if this was Isaiah being vindictive or whatever, but he lit his ass up.
You know what? Who cares if he's vindictive?
No, I'm just saying.
Whatever spurs you. We were talking about David Montgomery playing the Bears, and you said, listen, I talked to these guys, and this is what they'll tell you. Maybe, it's not that big of a deal. 10 years later, they'll tell you, yeah, man, that really motivated me. If that's what motivates you, who cares? When you've got guys who, Alec Bregman is a really good player, okay? He's a great player for the Houston Astros. Why does he wear number 2? Because Dansby Swanson was drafted number 1. And he's reminding himself every day that he was the second player in the draft. When they went to play the Braves, Alex Bregman said, put me at shortstop. Why? Even though he's a third baseman. Why put you at short? Because I want to play against that dude. That's what motivates him. Right. Whit Merrifield is a guy who in his phone had his minor league manager's lineup card that misspelled Whit Merrifield's name in Double-A. That motivates him. If Isaiah Thomas needed the motivation against John Stockton, that Stockton was taken to the Olympic team instead of him, who cares? I don't care.
Right. No, I don't care either, but whenever I would, when you covered the Pistons, like, you might get a few minutes with players before the game. So whenever I would walk in there.
Keyword there is might.
Might. But I had a good relationship then.
Yeah,
Somebody would pull me aside. Come here.
I know.
Isaiah's going to light your boy up. I said, who is my boy? He said, you know who your boy is? John Stockton.
How did John Stockton become your boy?
Because they are trying to, I don't know, mess with me.
No,
it's more like a joke.
Yeah,
they know he
I
was.
get it.
So then they say he's going to light his ass up tonight. So obviously Isaiah was talking about it.
Yeah.
And he would get his 40. And the night that Karl Malone
elbowed
him, he was on his way to busting John Stockton again.
Mm-hmm.
And
he's just a better player than Stockton.
He was. So Karl was like, that ain't happening tonight. So he elbowed him. And let me give you another little tidbit. On Wikipedia, it says that Isaiah had 45 stitches. That is not right. He had 45 internal stitches and then 55 external stitches. So there was like 90. And I talked to his wife, Lynn, and she said it was like he was in a car crash at 55 miles an hour and he wasn't wearing a seatbelt. It's the same thing. So so that's what Karl Malone is John Stockton's boy, and
they were both on the dream team.
Right. They were both on there, and they said, this is not happening.
Yeah. I get it. I just, if you're looking for accomplishment, if you're looking for the right to be on the team, Isaiah Thomas should have been one of the first players chosen for that team. Now, we're talking about a little bit of disrespect. Let me give you another one. Like Shaquille O'Neal, we just mentioned it. How many times should he be an MVP? Steve Nash wins it over him. Many people told Terry, hey, you know what? He could win it every year. Well, then why didn't he? Phil Jackson, who, again, I can't stand because of the Bulls and all this. This guy won 11 championships. He coached in 4 All-Star games, I believe. You know how many times he won Coach of the Year?
Twice.
Once.
Okay.
One time.
But
now,
let me caution you.
That's stupidity. I'm sorry, it's stupidity. And before you get into, I'm not saying you're going to go there. Too many times we look at teams, we go, well, that would be easy. I could coach that team because of the talent. Sometimes those teams are more difficult to coach.
Yeah, and I'm not going there.
Good.
But Coach of the Year is a joke of an award anyway.
Why?
What Coach of the Year is whoever's coaching the team that you didn't expect to win,
right? And
they won. Yeah. We're giving him Coach of the Year.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I'm always like, come on, really? That's what it is. That's what that's come down to.
Okay.
So
to that end,
I'm squashing your argument.
Is Dan Campbell Coach of the Year? Because I think things were expected of the Detroit Lions based on how they finished a year ago and based on how teams in the division lost certain talent. Green Bay moves on from Aaron Rodgers is a really good example of that. Chicago we knew was going to be a rebuild. And, well, Minnesota, even though they won the division going away a year ago, many people didn't necessarily believe that they had the talent to go deep into playoffs anyway. So would Dan Campbell be that guy?
I think he's going to be that guy for this reason. First of all, he's coaching the Lions, and people don't respect the Lions as one, and he's got them in this position. Yeah. And I think they're going to reward him for the 3 years. I mean, last year they were 9-8. We keep forgetting that. All we think about is 8-2, but they were 9-18.
Didn't they finish 8-2 though?
Yeah, that's all we think about.
Right.
But what you do, here's what they do in the National Football League. They don't put, okay, this team finished 8-2, so we're going to put them in first place. No, they say this team was 9-8, so we're going to put them in third place where they belong. I think the fact that he finished 9-8, didn't make the playoffs last year, didn't make the playoffs before then, he's going to be rewarded for taking a team that was abysmal. He had to overcome Matt Millen. Not Matt Millen, but
Matt Patricia.
Matt Patricia, right.
I'll tell you what, Dan Campbell's award to win right now, but if the Texans win double-digit games, DeMeco Ryans should be Coach of the Year.
Should be or will be?
Should be. I don't think he will. But that was a team that –
Because he has a rookie quarterback?
They had a terrible team. They were, second in the draft last year? They were worse than the Lions. Awful team. Nobody expected them to be anything. I mean, I said they were going to be good, but that's a different story. But
well, you know too much.
If they win double-digit games, I think it should be –
Do they play not that this should matter all that much. Mm-hmm. Do they play in a weaker division?
Yeah. Possibly. Okay. It's pretty because the North is pretty weak too. It's not like the North has a bunch.
So I guess my point is, and I think it's a fair point. It's a really good discussion. What are they, 5-4, 6-4?
Yes.
Okay. So if they're 5-4 right now, and let's say they finish 10-7, all right? How much, and they win the division, even though Jacksonville won it a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
Should that matter?
I think it should.
So wins and losses matter to you, correct?
From what they were last year, yes.
Okay, Spencer, I'm going to piss you off about our profession.
You want to piss people off today.
I'm trying to educate them, but it's going to make them. Dudes turn in their ballots before the season's done.
Yeah.
So he might get that double digits to next week, but I already turned my ballot in.
Right.
So that happens way too much.
It happens a lot, and it's because it's really unfortunate. That happens with the Heisman voting a lot, too. Mm-hmm. I used to wait until the very end because I thought championship games matter. You take a team to the Pac-12 championship game, I want to see what you do in that championship game. You take it to the Big Ten title game, I want to see what they do. That's why Marvin Harrison Jr., if he has a massive day at Michigan's expense, he might be in that conversation. But it's a very interesting point. I think those are the two leaders right now, Ryans and the Texans, and obviously Campbell with the Lions. For me, what Mike Tomlin has done, and I've got a soft spot for Mike Tomlin. I think he's an outstanding coach. He's never had a losing season. I don't know if people know that. He's never had a losing season. What the Steelers are doing right now is beyond belief. There's no way people thought that they would be in the running for another division title under Mike Tomlin with Kenny Pickett at quarterback and some of the holes that they need to fill. More to come here from Dispo in Romeo. Here's Spencer Raxter.
With Premier Pet Supply. Premier Pet Supply, when it comes to your pet, don't settle. Give your pet the best. And, of course, that is Premier Pet Supply. Family owned and operated for over 30 years. 13 Metro Detroit locations, over 60 brands of food, lowest prices, and curbside home delivery. Premier Pet Supply. Give your pet the best at www.premierpetsupply.com.
Brace yourselves, Detroit. As the sun begins to set, two of Woodward Sports' brightest young stars will be taking the mic for a brand new show. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder. The dog days in Detroit are over, and the boys are unleashed. Join in on the banter and hop on the bandwagon of the #1 night show on the internet. Tune in to the Woodward Sports YouTube channel every weeknight from 8 to 10 p.m. Woodward Nights with Spooner and Broder.
At work and at home, we're there with smarter security solutions. Featuring complete automation with customized alerts and more. For over 90 years, we've been the company that's been counted on to protect what matters most, all with personalized service and care. Right now, for a limited time, receive a free video device plus free installation with a new home system. Guardian Alarm. We protect Michigan.
We've just received word. The world's cannabis supply has vanished. The public is outraged and has taken to the streets in response to this tragedy. The individual responsible acted alone, and we can only hope they will make things right soon.
Just in time for football season, Glorious Cannabis is dropping a new ice water bubble hash infused pre-rolled called Honolulu Blue. It is a gassy, aggressive strain in honor of Detroit football. It smells so good, it's like the whiff of the first playoff win in 31 years. Little unnecessary shot there. If you haven't had one of these ice water pre-rolls, you are missing out. So smooth. Find them at Dispo Dispensary for 25% off. Check out online at gloriouscanna.com. Now back to Shep and Terry.
No, Shep, I think I'm going to have to owe everyone an apology.
Uh-oh.
I'm ashamed of myself. Fellas, what was that just came over the wire? Is this about me?
This was apparently the NCAA found that a booster for Michigan under the name Uncle T
Terry Foster
is funding the sign stealing situation. So, Terry, what do you have to say?
I want to apologize to the Big Ten. I want to apologize to the College Football Playoff Committee. I was the one that got him on the sidelines at Central Michigan. I apologize.
That's never been confirmed, has it? That was him.
I was up there that
How
weekend.
does it take that long to figure that out?
Because nobody's saying anything.
Oh, okay.
I was at Central, and they're like, we don't know how he got there.
Yeah.
We had a sideline pass. Somebody had to sign it.
Right.
Usually the athletic director or sports information director or somebody that signs it.
Yeah, it's usually the SID, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how he got there.
If that's him.
Yeah, that's true. It was him because I got him there.
Yeah, I think it was him because Central Michigan was like, yeah, we don't know who that was.
Right.
So it's like,
Right.
oh.
With all that Central Michigan gear, I think that's as concerning as anything else.
Yeah.
You know? You don't, I mean, I guess you can go someplace to buy that, but a lot of times, well, I mean, look at Terry. I mean, that's delivered by the school. He didn't buy that stuff. Okay, he's got a CMU beanie on, and everybody knows that was given to him by the Chippewas. The same thing with that sweatshirt, although it looks a little old.
It is.
It looks like it's been through the cabin and the log cabin and a few other places.
I've had this one for about 20 years.
I bet. Yeah. We were talking about the NFL, and for good reason. Is there a particular game that moves your needle this Sunday? Besides, look, the obvious is the rematch of the Super Bowl, right? Monday night, Philadelphia against Kansas City. Am I alone here, guys, in thinking there's a lot of bad matchups on a weekly basis in the NFL? And I think we watch, if you're my son, one of my sons, he's watching Red Zone constantly. I like to watch a game. I want to watch the Lions, and boom, I watch it. He watches Red Zone back and forth because he wants to see how his fantasy team is doing. There's a lot of bad matchups in the NFL, and we're watching it because of fantasy football, because of betting, and because we're told that it's the NFL, and it's really good stuff. So what else is moving you? Am I wrong there? Are you guys are younger than we are.
Yeah.
So Spencer and Mike and Jeremy, are you guys watching the NFL because of your fantasy football team, because of betting, or because you're truly engaged in who's playing who?
No, it's a lot on my fantasy football team, honestly. Especially these past couple weeks, these primetime matchups have been terrible.
Brutal
Terrible to watch.
Yeah.
And so I do a lot of the red zone. Obviously, I'll watch the Lions game, and then I'll do a lot of red zone just to make sure, if my guy scores, I see it.
Yeah.
I don't play fantasy football, so I watch
You
it.
used to, though, I think, didn't you?
1 year.
Yeah, okay.
They broke me one. But I like the product. I like the way that defenses try to attack the quarterback.
Okay.
It's like a chess match every week, even though the matchup may not be that interesting.
How often are you at Ford Field?
This year, I'm going to go about 6 games.
Oh, my God. Okay, so you're there quite a bit. Guys, do you go in person quite a bit?
Yes, I try to when I can.
Again, I could be in the minority here, so I welcome the feedback. I think it's almost unbearable to go to a game in person. It takes forever because of the commercials. Like I used to get this all the time. Calling baseball, people would say, "Oh my gosh, baseball's so long." I said, "Have you ever sat and watched a football game? Time it one time. Maybe 12 minutes of action. Maybe. From the time it snapped to the time the guy's tackled, maybe 12 minutes of action.
Bro,
but it's taking you over 3 hours to watch it.
You know what you need to do? Go to a Super Bowl live. That's boring as all get out.
Yeah.
Because you're sitting there watching lights and you're watching cheerleaders and stuff, and then players are just chilling on the sideline.
Yeah.
There are so many breaks during a Super Bowl. It's outrageous.
It's ridiculous. I was thinking about it while watching the game last night. They had a lot of good shots of Baltimore Ravens fans, right? And they're just coming back from break. And I thought to myself, I wonder if somebody's there going like this, like they do on talk shows on TV, trying to get people up in arms and going stuff like that.
Yes.
Or if those people just go, hey, the red light for the TV camera's on me, so I want to make sure everybody knows who's in front of the camera. Because,
they do.
Because they can't generate that type of energy in a long break.
They don't. And what you do have hype guys. And what they will say during the break is, hey, everybody, show them how hyped up for the Bengals we are here in Cincinnati, so stand up and cheer. Yeah, they do that. It's the same thing.
I'm going to give you some matchups, all right? I thought I was excited about Cincinnati and Baltimore last night. It turned out to be not a very good game last night. Pittsburgh at Cleveland moves my needle.
Yes.
especially now that Deshaun Watson is out. I think that sounds strange, but especially because he's out, how will Cleveland respond? Obviously, the Lions makes a big deal for us. When I'm interested in this one. Knowing that Buffalo has gone through their changes and Ken Dorsey, their offensive coordinator, was fired, I guess somebody had to pay the price, right? Unfortunately, I mean, you're not going to get rid of all the offensive players. Buffalo is going to host the Jets. The Jets are so bad offensively, but the Bills are so self-destructing offensively. It's almost a car wreck is unfair, but it's almost like you're waiting for something bad to happen when you're watching that game. So that's why that one kind of moves my needle a little bit.
6 weeks ago, that was you can't miss that one. Now,
right.
I'm whatever.
All right, the last one I would bring up. Denver hosts Minnesota. Minnesota because of the division and because Dobbs has been unbelievable, right? And Denver because I've watched Denver the last couple of weeks. It's actually 3 weeks because they had a bye week. What they did to Kansas City, I think, is the biggest upset in all of football so far this year, outside of Texas going down to Tuscaloosa and beating Alabama at the beginning of the year. And then what they did last week in Buffalo was nuts. So there's a little intrigue there for you, isn't there?
No, there is a lot. And plus, the Lions have to play Denver and Minnesota.
Mm-hmm. Minnesota twice.
Yeah. This was a game at the opposite, maybe 5-6 weeks ago I didn't give a damn about. But now I do. Because Denver is now a team. Minnesota, with their blitz packages and the new quarterback and everything,
it does have a different feel to it. Minnesota does. I mean, nothing against Kirk Cousins, who I think is a wonderful guy and had a really good season a year ago and probably gets crapped on more than he deserves to. But with Dobbs' athleticism, it's probably unfair to say because I think Kirk Cousins is athletic too, but with Dobbs' athleticism, it's pretty impressive how Minnesota has changed a little bit. And they do it, remember, no Dalvin Cook either because he was let go. So I think it's pretty impressive. You've seen their numbers, I assume, without Justin Jefferson. Mm-hmm. So without Justin Jefferson, they're 5-0.
Yeah, it's amazing.
With Justin Jefferson, they're 1-4. Am I reading too much into that, or is that just something we'd like to gravitate towards?
Maybe you're reading too much into it because it's a team that needed time to evolve.
Yeah.
Last year was a team that could do no wrong, and then early this is a team that could do no right. And so then maybe it's all evening out.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that, you mentioned Kirk Cousins being athletic, but Dobbs has got that wiggle about him.
He does.
Like, he can run straight ahead, but then when you trap him, he's like going left, right, looking at you, and then he the next thing you know, he's right through you. How did that happen?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's also something that I think a lot of people will be pondering for a long time. When we come back, Pistons are going to be on the road in Cleveland. But there's another NBA storyline that I want Terry Foster's thoughts on. That's as we roll on from Dispo here in Romeo, right after this on Woodward Sports.
And let me tell you about Hamlin Pub. Hamlin Pub will be your favorite place for game day. Have you ever wanted a bar where you're a regular? We have just the place for you. Head to one of Hamlin Pub's 7 locations and experience where everyone's a regular. They got half-off pizza on Tuesdays. For every NFL game and for every Michigan sports game, they have food and drink specials. So make sure you guys go check them out. It's a lot of fun. They have places all over Michigan. Experience your new favorite pub for all things sports. Hamlin Pub, where everyone is a regular.
Where's the most convenient place to get that big fitness energy?
It's Planet Fitness.
Join today for just $1 down, $10 a month. With over 2,400 locations and equipment for every workout, you can get in, get energized, and get going. And with free fitness training and most clubs open 24 hours, everyone belongs in the judgment-free zone. So join today for $1 down, $10 a month, no commitment, cancel anytime. Deal ends Wednesday, September 13th.
Join now at any Metro Detroit location. Hurry, offer ends soon.
Woodward Sports' own Tom Mazaway and Sam Stick Day will be hosting our Lions postgame show after every Lions game all season long. Tune into the Woodward Sports YouTube channel for his hot-off-the-press takes, game analysis, and Kool-Aid sipping celebrations. You won't want to miss it. Join Maz, Dick, and special guests each week immediately following every Lions game, exclusively on the WSN YouTube channel.
We've just received word. The world's cannabis supply has vanished. The public is outraged and has taken to the streets in response to this tragedy. The individual responsible acted alone, and we can only hope they will make things right soon.
Come into Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically enter to win a trip of your dreams and all expenses paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament. That's right, no expenses spared for you and 5 of your best buds. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men, open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. It's wicked awesome. Now, back to Shep and Terry.
Big news on this Friday is that Michigan will head to Maryland without their linebackers coach. Effective today, according to a statement from the University of Michigan football program, Chris Partridge, the linebackers coach, has been relieved of his duties as a member of the Michigan football staff. So, that is big news. There's no doubt about it. He's the second staffer to leave his position in the past few weeks. Connor Stallions, of course, resigned November 3rd. Partridge is out as linebackers coach. Boy, it's never a dull moment, I suppose. And in case people weren't remembering who he was, he was the one who brought Rashawn Gary and Jabril Peppers to the University of Michigan. So he's out. Minter is in as linebackers coach as they get set to take on Maryland. Is this a
yes, whatever you're going to say, the answer is yes.
I was going to ask you if some people think this is a trap game for Michigan. Do you believe that? Because I don't. I think Michigan's going to steamroll it.
I do not. Maryland, once again, they're not as good later in the season. Back in the day, the University of Minnesota was like that. University of Minnesota, heading to November, they're always like 6-3 or 7-2 or whatever. And then you knew once November rolled around, they're done.
Yeah. I think the thing I respect most about this Michigan team is that they're not afraid of the adversity and that they actually are willing to use that in their type of pursuit of a championship. You don't think we can do this? You don't think we deserve to do this? This is hard. This is really hard. For players to try and keep their concentration through all this, when you know that investigative reporters like Terry Foster are digging and digging deep, okay, and for them to constantly have to answer questions of things outside the game, that is really mentally challenging.
It is, but I think in a, I don't know if weird way, but I think in a way, this has motivated them.
I do too.
They're like, oh, so you want to take our coach away from us? Oh, so you don't respect our accomplishments? Oh, you want to, and when you're in the bubble, you don't believe all this stuff that you're hearing out there. So I think they're going to steamroll Maryland, and they're going to kick Ohio State's ass too.
I think they're the better team than Ohio State. I don't think there's any question about that if you watch this team. I don't think they have the best win in the conference, but I think when all is said and done, they will. I think the best win in the country is probably the Texas win at Alabama. And you could see the Longhorns possibly getting into a national championship conversation as well. You and I had some really fun discussion earlier today about some of our favorite Piston teams and some of the lack of respect that they perhaps received, and I still don't think they get enough credit. I actually think the 1989 or 1988 team was as good as any of the other teams. They just got kind of screwed in Los Angeles. The current Pistons team will never be confused with them. They have dropped 9 consecutive games as they head to Cleveland. They are 2-10 on the year, 15th in the Eastern Conference, a chance to win because the Cavs are only 5-6. It's way too early to jump to conclusions. I get that. But from what you've watched about what Detroit has, what are they missing?
They're missing cohesiveness. I mean, I just think the Pistons are just a bunch of young dudes playing ball.
Yeah.
There's no rhyme, no reason. And Shep, I've heard the same thing for 5 years. They're too young. They're too injured. So what do you expect? I mean, can that go on for 5 years?
Right.
I just, youth does play a role because when you look at the NBA, it's a man's league. Teams come in here and they say, okay, we got the Pistons. We know we can coast for a little while. I think we're gonna make our move in the third quarter. We're busting in, or we'll wait until the last 10 minutes of the game, and then we're gonna take over. I think that's what teams are doing with the Pistons. They know they can impose their will whenever they want to, and there's nothing the Pistons can do about it. I think Cade Cunningham, who I think is a very good player, hasn't been very good this year. Turns the ball over way too much, and it's not even pressure turnovers. He's like, here, take the ball.
Yeah. I agree 100% with what you said. I think it's a really tough situation for him. I think he's a good player. This is not a knock on him. Unfortunately, teams' best players oftentimes get ridiculed the most when a team is struggling.
That is correct.
And that's not always fair. And I don't think it's fair for Cade Cunningham. Is he going to be a superstar? I'm not convinced of that just yet. Now, let's be fair.
Star?
Yeah, for sure. But let's remember this. The Clippers have a superstar, and they're 0-6 since they've gotten him, James Harden.
Yeah.
I have never, full disclosure here, never been a big James Harden fan. I think he's a one-sided player. I don't think he gives you 100%. I don't think he's a very good defensive player, and I think oftentimes he can be very selfish.
You know what, Shep, you're a lot nicer guy than I am because you wouldn't say it.
What?
He's a cancer.
Yeah.
You just –
I think it's hard to build cohesiveness around him. Let's put it that way. They play Houston tonight, and I think they play them in Houston. No, I think it's in L.A. It's actually in L.A. This might be their first win. I don't know. And I probably shouldn't care that much. But I think there's too many times we talk about, and I'm guilty of it too, so I'm not throwing stones here. We talk about some of the negatives that take place in sports instead of the positives. So I wanted to parlay that into a really, I think, impressive story or an impressive player. Jason Tatum for Boston doesn't get nearly the attention I think he deserves. I think he's an elite player. I think he's one of the best players in the NBA right now. And this will be a little surprising. I think he's one of the best players the Celtics have ever had. Now, that's I'm not saying he's Bill Russell. Bill Russell's the greatest champion of team sports there is. I'm not saying he's Larry Bird or John Havlicek.
He's saying one of the top 30 players in history. How deep does your
for Boston? For Boston, let me tell you this. He's still a young man.
Yes.
This is how dominating he is. As a young man, there are only 3 Boston Celtics who have more 30-point games than Jason Tatum. Larry Bird, Paul Pierce, John Havlicek. And each one of them is in Springfield.
And how many of those guys choke in the playoffs?
I don't think any of them choked in the playoffs. Although Paul Pierce he needed quite a bit of help.
He did.
Okay?
But he got it.
He got the championship. I don't care who you are, man. If you're playing a team sport, everybody needs help, man. Okay? I'm a huge Bryce Harper fan. I think he's awesome. I'd love to have him on my team. He's one of the first players I would take because I love his attitude. I love his grit. I love his want to. I think he's a tough SOB. He needs help. Everybody does in team sports. St. Tennis or golf, we know that.
Big boy, look at the Anaheim Los Angeles Angels. They have have had 2 of the best players in baseball history.
Right.
And can't win.
Right. And on top of that, they added to it by, at the time, getting Anthony Rendon coming from Washington on a multi-year deal, who was considered one of the best third basemen in the world. He wasn't as good as Arenado. He wasn't as good as Chapman, but at the time, he was in that conversation. He has done butkus for them. So, yeah, everybody needs help.
That's true. That's why, here, I got a homework assignment for you.
Uh-oh. Let me write it down.
Next time you are in front of the television and somebody's accepting their MVP award, first thing out of their mouth, I want to thank their teammates.
Right.
Now, that's not just lip service. They know at points of the season, but if it wasn't for this third-round draft pick from 2017, I couldn't have done this in this game, or I wouldn't be able to spring free off the screen or make this play, or I wouldn't. If I'm a quarterback, I wouldn't be able to make this throw if it wasn't for my left tackle.
Right.
So, yes, it is a team game, and yes, when you are at the top, you are lifted by your teammates.
Yeah, it's a great point, man. It's one of the things that impressed me most about Caleb Williams' Heisman Trophy speech a year ago and why he's getting kind of a bad rap this year. One more break before we wrap things up here from Dispo here in Romeo. Here's Spencer Raxter.
And let me tell you about Feldman Chevrolet. Feldman Chevrolet, Detroit's #1 Chevy dealer with 18 locations. There's a Feldman dealership in your backyard. Visit feldmanauto.com to find the location nearest you. Since 1996, Feldman Automotive has been driven to provide a fast, convenient, and first-class car buying experience called the Feldman Advantage. Catch Woodward Sports live from Feldman Chevrolet of Novi every other Monday. You know it's the morning show and BDE. Make sure you guys go check it out, and it's Feldman Chevrolet to get the best deals possible.
Come to any Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men for an award-winning haircut experience from one of our talented stylists and register for a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to win an all-expenses-paid suite for the 2024 NCAA tournament for you and 5 of your best buds. That's right, college basketball's most elite event. You and your 5 best friends just get to any Lady Jane's today for an award-winning haircut experience and automatically register to win the trip of your dreams. Lady Jane's Haircuts for Men open 7 days a week. Walk in anytime. Lady Jane's, it's wicked awesome.
Join Woodward Sports' own Jeff Iafrate, along with special WSN guests for the most anticipated Lions season in decades. Filled with different surprises and expert analysis. You're not going to want to miss out. Go to our Woodward Sports YouTube channel on Sundays and tune in live from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m.
When buying or selling real estate, flexibility and control over the sales process is key. Sellers, how would you like the freedom of canceling your listing agreement at any time for any reason with no penalty? That is exactly what Mark White & Associates offers. It's called the Minute-by-Minute Listing Agreement by Mark White & Associates. Looking to buy or sell real estate? Visit markwhitesells.com or call 248-290-8242. markwhitesells.com, where flexibility meets success. Now, back to Shep and Terry.
All right, ready to wrap things up here at Dispo here in Romeo. Again, our thanks to Darren and Sean Dabish for welcoming us here. Always so kind to the Woodward Sports family. Love being out here. He's Terry Foster. I'm Matt Shepard. A special thanks to Spencer Raxter, Jeremy Bryant, and Mike Gentry. They keep us on the air. They keep us informed, and they've had some really good stuff today, including...
Don't thank Mike Gentry.
Why not?
He's a bad guy.
Is he?
Yep.
Looks like a good dude.
Looks could be deceiving.
I mean, his clothes look clean. He looks like he showered already this morning. His hair looks well done. You know, I mean, it seems like a good enough guy.
Well, looks can be deceiving. You know what else he does?
What's that?
He picks pockets.
Oh, does he really?
Yes.
That's why he drives such a nice car. Okay, I got it.
Go. Have you been to the Woodward Sports in the back?
I have.
Okay. Did you walk out with your wallet?
I never brought my wallet in.
Because I was going to say, if you walk it out with your wallet, it means Gentry wasn't there.
Okay. Tell the inside story. Did he take your wallet by accident one day, or what is it?
No,
Because he can't defend himself.
He doesn't do anything by accident.
Can't really defend himself. He doesn't have a microphone. I mean, Spencer's laughing. He's belly laughing right now, so there's got to be some truth to it. Yeah, or just out of the blue. Mike has no idea where this comes from. His lawyer will be walking through the door here at Dispo shortly. Catch Terry on Sunday here on Woodward Sports, Woodward in Maine, where
if I'm still here,
if he's got his wallet, he can get to point A to point B. They'll be talking about the Lions and the Lions matchup with the Bears, and then the quick turnaround against Green Bay. Love the tradition. Should never be taken away. It's the Lions game. There's no doubt about it. The NFL wanted to add to it. That's fine. However, it is a very challenging turnaround when you play a game on Sunday and then Thursday. If people were to go through the week, Monday is usually just kind of like a walkthrough and a film day. Tuesday,
and not even that sometimes.
Not even, yeah. But
they massage them.
Yeah,
they put them on the tables.
Yeah, they'll get rehab for sure. But that's what they oftentimes do. They'll watch some film. Tuesday is a scheduled day off.
Right.
NFLPA, NFL agree. They get a day off, and they deserve it. So Tuesday is usually a day off, and then Wednesday they kick that game plan in for the next opponent, and they start going through that. Thursday and Friday they complete it. Saturday's another soft day a little bit, and then Sunday, obviously the kickoff. Things are expedited.
But one thing you forgot, Thursday, they're still sore from Sunday's game.
For sure.
Yeah, very sore.
I think that would be an interesting investigation. So get on that because you're an investigative reporter. How does Dan Campbell, this is his third year as head coach, how has Dan Campbell and his staff adjusted to that quick turnaround for this traditional game? Because it's unlike what anybody else has got to do. Now, granted, there's Thursday night games now and everything else, but we know this is taking place every single year. Sometimes you don't know if you're getting a Thursday night game.
I think the advantage for Dan Campbell is the other team has to do it too.
Yeah.
But I think after the L.A. game, Dan Campbell wanted to chill out on the plane, enjoy that game.
Don't blame him.
But he said he couldn't do it. He's going to take a peek at the film on the plane because he has a short week.
I don't think people recognize, unless you've been in it with coaches, how much film coaches watch in every sport. I don't care if it's baseball, college basketball, football especially, but the amount of film, they call them the film hogs, the amount of film that you have to watch to try and give your team an edge and try to get them ready is just absolutely incredible. We can go on and on with stories that Jim Caldwell has told me about specific players, the amount of film I've seen guys like John Beeline, A.J. Hinch watch. It's incredible. But speaking of the Lions, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Cass Tech Pride.
CT in the house.
There he is. He's going to be in the house on Sunday against Chicago. How much can we expect from Donovan Peoples-Jones? Understanding this, folks, the Lions' offense is number 2 overall, all right, at 406.5 yards per game. They're number 4 in passing at almost 268 yards per game. They're number 4 in rushing at 140 yards per game, and they're number 6 in scoring at 27 points per game. What does Donovan Peoples-Jones add to this team outside of being a homegrown product?
Very little. I don't think he's going to make any impact this season.
Okay.
I don't know why they made the trade, to be honest with you. And the other reason
very little.
Very little.
That's a great line.
Or how about this one? Not much at all. Does that sound even better?
Yeah.
But when you listen to the noise outside of the locker room this week, it looks like J-Mo is like their guy now. They're talking about, we got faith in him. I never heard that before. He's really coming along. You didn't hear much about Jamison Williams. Well, he could block when our other running backs were.
He can block.
He can block, but that's the only thing you heard. You didn't hear that we got faith in him. You didn't hear he's going to be bigger part of the game plan. You didn't hear, man, this dude is coming along. You heard that this week. So I have to believe, unless it's a smokescreen, and we are smokescreened a lot in sports, I have to believe they got something for him on Sunday. If they have something for him on Sunday, then that's going to continue the rest of the year. Donovan Peoples-Jones might be a spectator.
He might be. He might be a moving the chains type of guy. Might the 5-7 yard out. I don't see him stretching the field. I'm hoping Jamison Williams becomes the downfield shot guy. I think that's what he needs to do for this team. Amon St. Brown can get to the second level. He's not taking anything away from him. He's one of the best receivers in football. And he's due for a big payday soon, and he deserves it. But if you want to stretch the field, if you want to create mismatches, Jamison Williams is the guy to do it, don't you think?
I don't think. I know.
Yeah.
But I don't understand why the Lions don't call more plays that fit his skill set. They should just have a play called go. And just line up J-Mo and say, okay, go.
Yeah, that's easier said than done because, obviously a lot of it depends on what the defense is doing. Defense will dictate where you're going with the football. If it's a one-on-one, I totally understand where you're coming from. But I'm not forcing it to him if it's some type of zone.
I've seen him when I go to Ford Field. I've seen him spread out wide, no safety help, and they might run a route for him or they'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
but they're not calling go. They have him come back or a sideline pattern.
He's
I
like
don't
a
get
second
that.
or third option. Okay. What you are getting tonight is lighting the Christmas tree downtown as part of the Central Michigan. Good for you. Enjoy it down there. Enjoy the weekend, and we will enjoy watching you on Woodward and Maine on Sunday. Our thanks to Spencer Raxter, Jeremy Bryant, Mike Gentry, but especially to Darren and Sean Dabish for having us out here at Dispo in Romeo. I'm Matt Shepard saying so long. Have a great weekend, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your Friday, especially 2 o'clock with Braylon Edwards and Ryan Ermanni here on Woodward Sports.